Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Keeping Your Head Above Water, helping caregivers. And I want to tell you, I'm so excited to introduce to you Heidi Weiss. She is a licensed Master of Social Work and also a Master of Health Advocacy. And she does health and healing support social work. Ms. Weiss is the coordinator of Addressing Alzheimer's program. In addition to meeting the social and emotional needs of caregivers with a loved one who has dementia, she conducts a variety of community workshops, including FACT, F-A-C-T, Facing Advanced Care Together, how to make the most of your doctor visit and tips for dementia caregivers, while also presenting at area conferences. She has presented workshops and webinars for the NYU Silver School of Social Work Postmaster's Certificate Program in Palliative Care on the topic of building an understanding of end-of-life care for the intellectually disabled, developmentally disabled, adult and group homes. Additionally, she has held an adjunct faculty position for Fordham Graduate School of Social Services, the Sarah Lawrence College Master's Program in Health Advocacy, and the NYU Silver School of Social Work. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Heidi Weiss. Take it away, Heidi.
There we go. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this morning's, I think it's the first of several groups that you'll be attending today. I am Heidi Weiss, social worker at Westchester Jewish Community Services in Westchester County, New York. And today we're going to talk about keeping your head above water, coping while caregiving, which I will assume is why everybody's here today. How do we do this and keep ourselves whole? So, okay, let me see. So let's go this way. If there is any problem seeing the presentation, please write into the chat and let Eileen know. But if there's no problem right now, we're going to continue with today's objectives. So how do we help loved ones identify as caregivers? Often people take on this role not even thinking about what it is that they're actually taking on because of who they are in a relationship or what their commitment has been to any particular loved one. But it's important to identify as a caregiver because there will be signs of certain things that you'll need to do for yourself in order to continue that commitment. One of those will be identifying resources. As with any true commitment, there will always be privileges and burdens to the job you take on. And it's really important to learn you're not alone. It takes a community for everything we do. So you are the experts on this, but I am required to do a quick review. So what is ALS? Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis is a progressive neurological disease that affects the nerve cells in the brain and in the spinal cord. In addition to all of these physical symptoms, there are also psychological reactions for the patient as well as for the family. So there's depression, there's anxiety, there's emotional lability. Physical symptoms are progressive, and the physical and emotional burden of care is felt by the care receivers, the caregivers, because however many of you are involved in this process, you're all in the same storm, but you're all in different boats. So in the beginning, caring for someone like ALS, like most chronic and debilitating illnesses, can feel like entering a foreign country. So when we enter a foreign country, we often need to become familiar with new languages. In this case, it's new terms, medical terms, relationship terms, and resource terms. Before getting involved as a caregiver, how many of you actually thought of what is Medicaid and what do we even want to know about it, let alone how can we use it? What is a healthcare proxy? What is a DNR? What is our insurance coverage? What is the initial HHA, home health aid, that's this role that so many people begin to become dependent on. So lots of new languages and new initials and new abbreviations. There are new schedules to keep. There are your own schedules as caregiver, but there's also the schedules of the people you're caring for. And that includes not just the medical schedules, but the social schedules, the schedules that perhaps they had been maintaining for other people become, to some degree, the caregiver's responsibility. There's a whole new set of skills that are out there that need to be learned. Do you know how to order DME, durable medical equipment? Do you have to follow through on physical therapy techniques, occupational therapy techniques? None of this is something that people come to naturally. It's all part of a process. But one of the most important things, and I can't impress this upon you enough, one of the most important things in being a caregiver to anyone is how to take care of yourself in the process. You are the most important in this particular conversation today. And that feature of how you take care of yourself may be the hardest task of all for you. Because you're learning self-care, you're learning time management, you're learning to care, perhaps you're a sandwich generation. So for a loved one and aging parents and children. And then there are shifts in the roles that you take on and shifts in the emotions that you take on and have yourself. So it's really important to recognize what is happening to you as the caregiver. Which leads us to, what are some of the risk factors that we need to be able to identify to make sure that we are taking care of the caregivers? So these include, but as I say here, not limited to being female. Being female, females in a family are often the go-to recommended caregiver. Daughters, sisters, wives, they have traditionally been in that role, and it seems when there is a serious illness, they often fall back into those traditional roles. But here today for ALS, we do know anybody could receive this kind of diagnosis. So I don't want to exclude all the males who may be attending. You are equally important. So just understand that being female is a higher risk factor. But as a male caregiver, there are a number of these issues that also become primary to your role. So another risk factor is living with the person you're caring for. Social isolation. It's easy to get wound up and absorbed in the day-to-day care, leaving you with little opportunity to have an outlet for your own emotional well-being, as well as your physical well-being. And becoming a caregiver may also result in employment burdens, reduced hours, which lead to financial difficulties. And we all know that healthcare is expensive. Even if you have insurance, there are any number of out-of-pocket costs that can take its toll on caregivers and caregiver families. A lack of coping skills. We aren't born with those. We need to learn them. And there needs to be an opportunity to take advantage of where and when to develop those skills. It's essential that caregivers have that outlet, because your care receiver will only be as good as you are in being available to them. And not having any advanced care plans can always make a situation more complicated. I do workshops and resource information sessions on advanced care planning. And I always recommend it starts earlier. Children as young as 18 should have healthcare proxies, because quite frankly, nothing works well in a crisis. So that's really important to remember. The earlier you get on advanced care plans, the earlier you have an opportunity to ensure that what needs to be in place is in place. And I often hear from families, but I can't talk about it. I can't even look that far ahead. but you're doing each other a favor in having these conversations. And these are conversations that will be returned to over the trajectory of any challenging diagnosis, because the trajectory of an illness will change how you see yourself, how you feel about your position along this trajectory, and what becomes most important for you as time goes by. So allow yourself those opportunities for advanced care planning. Oh, did I miss one? So managing. Oh, wait, no. I skipped one, I'm sorry. Signs of caregiver stress. These are the signs that may seem obvious, but we can talk a little more deeply about them. Feeling overwhelmed and constantly worried. As a caregiver, there is always so much to think about. I had a caregiver tell me the other day that her to-do list now has a to-do list. I'm sure a number of you can relate to that. Getting too much sleep or getting too little sleep. Believe it or not, too much sleep may be a sign of depression, and too little sleep, as anybody who has gotten too little sleep knows, is not sustainable. It makes every task more challenging. Signs of caregiver stress also include becoming easily irritated. You know, every nerve is raw. You're tired. You're overwhelmed. You cannot find a moment in the day for yourself. Don't blame yourself if you become easily irritated. Take it as a sign that I need a timeout. Feeling sad, of course, and allow those feelings. You need to find time to not ignore those feelings, to allow them to enter into your space, identify them, and realize that's how you feel. You don't have to linger with it, but you have to honor that this is how you feel. You may be losing interest in activities that you used to enjoy, and not only that you used to enjoy, but that are important to your well-being. If you took a yoga class and it really was your means of relaxation, meditation, and regrouping, if you played mahjong once a week with a group and it was your enjoyment outlet, all of those things. If you used to go running and you've decided you can't find the time in the day, it's important that we talk about how do we carve that out. Experiencing physical health issues. I think I often pose a question to my caregivers. If you're not going to take care of yourself and recognize that you need to be as healthy, both emotionally, physically, and even spiritually safe and healthy, what will happen to your loved one if you are not in a good space with that? Who will they be able to depend on? And if you are a solitary caregiver, that's a vitally important question. Your health and well-being becomes even more important to your loved one. Another sign of caregiver stress is self-medicating. And sometimes we do this without thought. Are we eating too much? Are we drinking too much? Are we taking medication that's been in the medicine cabinet for the, in case I couldn't sleep opportunity, or, in case I was feeling depressed? If they've been in there a while, you need to review those with your physicians and make sure that it's the right thing to do at the right time, and not actually something that will cause more distress for you and make life even more complicated. So how do we manage caregiver stress? I prepared a brief breathing experience for you. If we have time at the end, Eileen, our wonderful facilitator, will let us know. I'm going to offer a very brief version of that to give you a tool in your toolbox to control anxiety and maybe depression or sadness, a timeout for yourself that would allow you to regroup. But first and foremost, it's get educated. If a loved one is diagnosed with ALS, get all the information you can from reputable resources and reputable sources. The ALS Foundation is wonderful. Your local agencies, wonderful. Your neurologist may or may not know the same detailed information. Go out into the community and find your information. I'd also suggest taking notes at doctor visits or getting permission to record a session. It's hard to take in all of that information at one time and really be able to absorb it, both for you and your loved one with the diagnosis. It's important to have multiple sets of ears available to be able to review what was said at any given appointment. And don't hesitate to bring notes to the doctor visit. As caregivers, you're the front line in observing changes, progression of disease, good outcomes on certain things that have been implemented, what medical equipment is working, what isn't working, and that will be feedback that the doctor will not be able to get from any other source. And if need be, learn from your local employer about family medical leave. That's the Family Medical Leave Act. It's a federal program, but each state may employ them differently, and each employer may have different resources available in those arenas. So find out what your employer may offer you. I'd say this is vital. I said build a community, but by the same token, build a team. Get organized. That's really important. Talk to the family and friends who you wish to have support you, who you know will be reliable and responsive. Create a care binder or use online tools such as Caring Bridge, where you create a website to let people know, Wednesday, we've got a full day of doctor visits. Can somebody drop off dinner? Thursday, I have a medical appointment. Can anyone come and stay with my mom or my husband or my wife while I go to the doctor? I'm not comfortable with them being home by themselves. Those kinds of things. And honor what people want to do. People who say, tell me what I can do, don't know what they can do. It's also, if friends around you can tell some of those other friends, don't ask so openly, what do you want me to do? Tell your family and friend who is the caregiver, I can bring you that dinner on Tuesday. Oh, by the way, I can take the kids to school Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings. Don't you worry about that. I've picked that up. Those particular tasks that can be offered are so meaningful to caregivers. So if you know a caregiver, are a caregiver, or love a caregiver, remember, these are tools you can help to build that team. And very importantly, learn about the resources available to you. What is home care? What might your insurance writer provide and in what circumstances for home care? Are there foundations giving respite grants to caregivers? There are several of them out there. So can you get a respite grant for home care that will help cover cost? Can you get a respite grant for caregiver support that will allow you to take a yoga class at your local gym and will cover the cost for you? If your loved one is a veteran, what are the VA benefits? I'm not sure if it's still available, but there was a VA benefit that would retool your home to make it handicap accessible for ALS patients. Very important to find out. Know your local VA hospital and support groups. There are caregiver support groups, there are spousal caregiver support groups, and there are ALS caregiver support groups. Reach out, be a part of something like that. Sometimes your best and biggest supporters are people going through what you are going through. Not that any diagnosis or any family situation is exactly the same, but knowing your resources by others who are living with this diagnosis can be vitally helpful. So, self-care checklist. I wish I could see a show of hands, and maybe you can just do a spiritual show of hands so I can feel it coming through. Do you even create self-care checklists? And do you identify that they would include physical health, which might also include, are you seeing your own doctors even just for your annual reviews? Are you seeing your doctors when you don't feel well? Because if you are under the weather, you can't possibly sustain the caregiving role to the ability you would like to offer. Are you taking your medications properly? Are you exercising? Are you breathing? Really breathing so that you take a breath between tasks and renew your sustenance in watching a TV show, having a cup of tea, making a phone call to a friend. It's absolutely important. Are you eating properly? Or are you eating at 9 o'clock at night, out of the potato chip bag, or having a soda with that, and that's dinner? Not a good plan. Social health. Are you seeing your family and friends? Are you maintaining at least one enjoyable activity? One could be enough. Absolutely. Are you scheduling fun in your life? And this includes with your loved one who you're caring for. Are you watching comedies on TV together? Are you having an opportunity to laugh out loud together? Those endorphins that shoot when you are happy and you are laughing are essential to good health. Are you sustaining your, your emotional health? So we get back to, are you in a support group? Have you found the support that you need, even if you're not in a support group? Have you one outlet for stress? Can each of you right now identify one purposeful outfit that you know helps you reduce stress? Are you attending to your spiritual health? And this doesn't mean religious health, but if that's important to you, if being able to Zoom on a congregational service, a Sabbath service, if that is what gives you a boost, take the time. Do it with your loved one. It's good for everybody to have a spiritual health boost. But this also includes knowing what you're dealing with. Do you understand this diagnosis? Do you understand the prognosis? Are you sharing this information? What do you need to know to give you comfort to understand those things? Do you have a plan of care? Plans help keep us organized and focused. And this might take a village of healthcare professionals, a physical therapist, an occupational therapist, a speech therapist. Know your communities that can help boost your caregiving capacity. Know your legal opportunities and your legal situation. And understand that there are complicated ranges of emotions. Denial, anxiety, anger, guilt are all part and parcel of this process. Do you know that you have a plan that could change, that is malleable, that is flexible as your needs change and as your loved ones' needs change? How are you at accepting help? Even more importantly, how are you at asking for help? That's a real tough one for caregivers. But if you can do it as part of your care plan, number 3, learn how to ask for help. It can enhance all of the lives of the people around you. And be in touch with other caregivers. They are phenomenal at being your go-tos. Most importantly, know you are not alone. You are here in this particular workshop with at least 15 to 20 other people. You've got a circle right here. You've got 2 agencies right here who are willing to jump in and provide the information, the resources, the documents you might need. For many of us, it's hard to ask for help, but where will that get you? What does it lead to? So be prepared with what others can do for you. When somebody says, what can I do? You have a list. Give them a choice of 3 things. If they want to do all 3, that's 3 things off your list. If they can only do 1, at least it's the one thing you know you need from them. prioritize, prioritize, prioritize. What is most important? When we're on an airplane, we're always instructed rather, to put our own oxygen mask on first before we assist anybody in the event of an emergency. It is no different when you are caring for someone with a serious illness. Your oxygen mask sustains both of you. So it's really important to be realistic in that regard. And recognize there are limits to what anyone, even you supermen and women caregivers who go above and beyond to provide love and care and hands-on support. Everybody needs a helping hand. And rather than struggle alone, take advantage of your local resources. Just like you did today, coming to this summit, make notes, write down phone numbers, write down addresses and names of people who spark an interest in you. Share them with friends and family who can help even investigate other resources, because more than anything, it's important to know your own value in this process without recognizing that you are the hub in the wheel of caregiving, and everything we've talked about this morning are those spokes that are available to you and within your power to touch will help increase your value and your ability to caregive for those who you love. And definitely stay connected. Isolation diminishes your ability to cope. It enhances sadness and depression. It builds anxiety, and it does no one any good. So if you can take that away, if knowing your value is the one key you take away today, that could help with the overarching theme of you are not alone, and that your ship in this sea of serious illness is equally important to anybody's ship. And I think that's all I have to say for today. I will thank you. I do want to point out that there are resources. I think you are all getting the printout or a recording of this, and Eileen will correct me when I'm done. But take a note of all these resources and make sure that you can either jot them down or get a screenshot or ask for this page so that you have ammunition to take away. This is your party favor from today's session. I used to teach young children, and at every party I sponsored for them, everybody needed a party favor. This is your party favor today, so please take advantage of your party favor. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you so much, Heidi. That was fantastic. We have about 30 minutes left. So
yes.
if you would like to do that breathing exercise with us,
thank you.
I think that might be.
Should I stop screen sharing? Oh, I can't stop screen sharing. Okay, so as long as you can see and hear me, why don't we do that breathing exercise? Oh, there we go.
There we go.
So I'm going to ask everybody to sit in a comfortable seat, your back supported, feet flat on the floor. So if you're like me and a tiny human being, get a chair that has a low seat. Place the palms of your hands on the top of your thighs. If you are comfortable enough, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. If that makes you uncomfortable or dizzy, don't do it. And I will start by suggesting that we breathe in through our nose and out through our mouth. Now, everybody can do a slow, deep breath at a different pace. I'm just going to count to 6. If it's too long for you, you breathe out when it's more comfortable. If you can go a few seconds longer, you do that, and then exhale through your mouth. So it'll look like this. Let me just give you a sample. So if I'm going to close my eyes, my palms are on the tops of my thighs, and I'm going to go. And we're not going to do chest breathing. we're going to do abdominal breathing. So if it's helpful to you, take one of those palms and put it on your belly so that you feel your belly extend ever so slightly when you take that deep, slow breath in. So it'll go like this. Let's practice. I'm going to count for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I can't see anybody, but I'm hoping that you can feel your belly extend as you inhale and decompress, go in as you exhale. So let's do that for a couple of times in a row. So it's in, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, in, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If that's comfortable, I'm now going to go through the full body relaxation exercise. We're going to go from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet, all the while continuing this breathing rhythm, because it's all about the breath. And if you're all ready, I'll start and I will slowly narrate our relaxation exercise. And intermittently, I will give you the counts. So we're going to start with the breathing in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Relax your forehead. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Relax your eyebrows, no furrowing. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Relax your cheeks. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Relax your mouth. No clenching. 3, 4, 5, 6. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Relax your neck. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Relax your shoulders. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Make sure they're not by your ears. Out. 3, 4, 5, 6. Relax your forearms. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Relax your chest. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Relax your hips and butt and make sure you feel the weight in the seat. 3, 4, 5, 6. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Relax the back of your legs against your chair. 3, 4, 5, 6. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Relax your shins and calves. 3, 4, 5, 6. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Relax your feet against the floor. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Feel the weight of your entire body in the chair and your feet on the floor. 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Continue breathing. In. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe on your own count. One more time. Excellent. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Don't stand up, anybody, not right away. Open your eyes and see if you can identify a different feeling in your body right now as a result of just focusing on your breathing and your body. Actually, that took about 6-7 minutes. So this is a toolbox, a tool in your toolbox that you can do sitting on a bus. You don't have to close your eyes. Nobody's going to know what you're doing if it's in your head. You can do it sitting in the waiting room of a doctor's visit, particularly if you are anxious about an upcoming appointment. You can do it when you've tried for the 4th time in the same day to get a hold of somebody on the phone and you still can't do it. That kind of control that you have, no one can take it from you, is a really important piece of information for your body.
Wow, Heidi, that was fantastic. Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
So we do have some questions in the Q&A box. And
Okay.
At this time, if anybody has a question, feel free to put it in. We have time. We have like a good 20 minutes. So we'll start with the first question. So the question is, the constant frustration as a professional care provider is facilitating a caregiver support group where members constantly pivot away from exploring their feelings and experiences and instead focus on practical caregiving needs, as that is now their new norm and more in their comfort zone. The question is, any tips on how to better encourage caregivers to look inward rather than externalize the conversation?
I think externalizing the conversation for caregivers is their way in to inward. I think it's very hard to look inward, and it's also a situation that many caregivers don't feel they're entitled to. They are not in the same position as the patient, and so they are thinking, how do I make sure the patient is comfortable? How do I make sure they have all the equipment? And how do I make sure that I'm doing everything I can do? So if you are the professional facilitator for that group and that's the conversation, a follow-up question could be, how do you feel if that's not successful? How do you feel if you haven't been able to obtain this particular resource or this? It helps them to begin to tap into their feelings, but about something more tangible than what is just their emotional health right now. So if you can start with, how does it feel to not be able to do that? What happens? Do you feel frustrated? And you can even feed them some words to give them language to attach to those feelings, because they may, people who are caregivers may have never been in this role before. They don't even know what those things are called that they're feeling. So it helps to be able to identify what some of those feelings are by listening to the complexity of care they're dealing with. Frustration, anger, guilt, do any of those play into their success or not lack of success? And how does that influence the day-to-day life for their caregivers?
Wow, that is a great question and a very helpful answer. So thank you to both. We have another question. Is there a resource, either streaming or a download for the guided breathing exercise? This was wonderful.
There are all kinds of resources. I didn't put one up on the screen. If there is an app, it's free. It's called Calm, C-A-L-M. It's a meditation app. They have a whole menu of different meditations and breathing exercises. You might want to try with that. Your caregiver support leader, your facilitator might have an arsenal in their own toolbox to share with you. I'm trying to think. You can just Google, if you're a good Googler or if you're comfortable Googling, relaxation breathing techniques for the newcomer. And that'll give you the more basic exercises that you can start with. But you are the master of your own body, and you now have just learned deep breathing. You got a tool.
That's fantastic. So we have another question. Any advice or tips on how to have a loved one agree to let you join them in their doctor's visits when they are showing early signs of health challenge and they have always been so independent and private?
It's essential that we allow people to maintain their agency and authority over their lives. There is no question. When you think about what ALS takes from somebody, it takes everything that empowers them, but their minds are not taken with this disease. I do a lot of work with Alzheimer's where their minds are the piece of their body that is taken, but their bodies are intact. But here you have a loved one whose mind is intact and is capable of making healthcare decisions. You don't want to take that authority or agency away, but you want them to know that, like anybody else, more than one set of ears is vital in a doctor's appointment, regardless of the diagnosis. Any serious diagnosis should have 2 sets of ears listening. The doctor will appreciate it. The caregiver will certainly appreciate it. And the care receiver will be able to have a much more in-depth conversation about what they've learned. And if there's a real hesitance or a real resistance to have anybody in the doctor's appointment with them, you might want to ask why. You know, some people who have this diagnosis really work hard to protect their families. And if there is, bad news anywhere along the trajectory, they don't necessarily want you to also have to deal with that. It's enough that they're going to deal with it. And if they can protect you from it, I think they will. But that whole line about, you're in the same water, but in different boats, 2 boats can sail together. And that's what you're doing. You're in this journey in these separate boats, but there is a lot of symbiosis here. And anything you can do better is better for them. So it's really about, yes, you don't have to say anything. And if they don't want you to participate in conversation, all you want to do is listen. But if you make that promise not to interfere, you have to keep that promise because you're going to want to go back to those conversations with the doctor as well. But I would definitely confirm their agency and ability to manage this. You just want to hear firsthand yourself that you're not afraid to learn anything because you're both in this together.
Oh, that's a great answer. Thank you. So we have 2 comments. One is fantastic presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the second is excellent. Sometimes the best path is the most obvious one and the easiest to overlook. Many thanks.
Well, I'm hoping that those obvious paths are not your obstacles, and that if anything, if you've taken away anything from today's presentation, that you are the most valuable player on this team. And caregivers, don't forget that. We are all here to support you. We want you to be your best, to be able to do your best, because we know that's what you want for yourself as well.
Wow. Heidi, you are a gem. Thank you for giving us so many tools. Our toolbox is full. We can definitely go into our caregiving roles now and and feel empowered and equipped.
I'm so glad. Thank you all for joining us today.
Yes. Thank you, everybody.
Be well.